I'm fascinated by the Chinese lantern flower and I wanted to paint it from observation using gouache. I'm Leah, a visual artist focused on nature, and in this video I'll share how I created a quick gouache study in my sketchbook while talking through some thoughts and tips. I picked this flower from my neighbor's garden while collecting a few cuttings to grow our own Chinese lantern trees. Gouache is a water-based paint that works beautifully on any background color. Unlike watercolor, where you need to preserve your whites for highlights, gouache is opaque and can be layered from dark to light. For this study, I wanted to use my small sketchbook with a tone background. My sketchbook has only white pages, as most of them, so I first had to prepare a base color. You can buy toned paper in many colors, but if you want a particular shade, you can make your own to fit exactly what you need. It's also a nice way to add variety to your sketchbook pages or to cover the drawings and paintings you didn't like. In my case, I mixed acrylic gesso, which is white, with tempera paint to create a bluish gray. I used ultramarine and burnt sienna to get the right color. Tempera is a water-soluble paint that doesn't reactivate once dry, so it's perfect for toning paper before working with gouache. I used Masterclass Tempera by Nieskaya Palitra, a Russian brand, sorry if I mispronounce it, and just a little goes a long way when mixing it with gesso. I began with a simple graphite line drawing, and most of the details were added later directly with gouache. When sketching to work with gouache, you can add as much or as little detail as you like, but keep in mind that gouache is very opaque and it will cover all the sketch. This was meant to be a small, quick study and I kept the drawing very minimal. Because gouache is opaque, you can work in any order you like, dark to light, light to dark, and you can even correct mistakes along the way. In this work, I started with a mid-tone color in orange and then built up lighter highlights and deeper shadows using yellow and red. I layered the colors to create the rich texture of the petals and I waited for the first layer to dry before adding details. I also like to do the opposite, painting wet on wet to blend the colors directly on the page, like I'm doing on the leaves to create gradients and more complex colors. Since gouache can be reactivated with water, you need to handle your brush lightly if you don't want to disturb the dry layers underneath. For the leaves, I alternated between lighter and darker veins to create an interesting contrast. In this piece, I'm using my smaller brushes because the sketchbook is too small. When working with less water and thicker mixes, the paints tend to build up on the brush and the lines get thicker too. That's why you need to keep cleaning your brush all the time. This variety of Chinese lantern is called red veins because of its striking pattern of fine red lines. The botanical name of this plant is Abudilon, also known as the flowering maple, and that's the name I wrote on the page. This flower was very enjoyable to paint. I especially love drawing and painting from observation because it asks for more intention from the artist. When you work from a photo, the proportions are already there for you to copy. But when you work from life, you rely on your own perception to judge sizes, angles, and relationships between the parts of your subject. That's what makes observation so rewarding. To finish the study, I added some graphite notes on the opposite page and a small sketch of how I placed the flower in a glass bottle to paint it. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to my channel to follow my journey with nature art. And if you'd like to support my work more closely and join a community of like-minded people who also love nature art, join us on Patreon.